Hi, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is December 26th, okay? We had Christmas yesterday. Hope you had a wonderful holiday. Maybe you have a lot of cleaning up to do. We're going to hear part 2 of the article that we started yesterday. Our title is Immerse Yourself in Nantou's Winter Wonderland.
That's right. So yesterday we talked a little bit about what we can do leading into the Nantou area, and we finished right at the end on visiting Sun Moon Lake with a nice bike ride.
That's right. And I feel like just running out and getting a U-bike right now.
Seems so nice.
Okay, so let's continue with part 2 of our article. Sun Moon Lake presents more than just a peaceful bike ride. In the early morning, under the right weather conditions, a sea of clouds often forms over the lake. This phenomenon typically occurs when a cold air mass moves southward and brings lower temperatures. The cooler conditions make it easier for clouds to form at lower altitudes. Water vapor from the ground evaporates and rises along the slopes with the airflow, condensing into clouds upon encountering cooler air. Additionally, in the early morning hours, the air near the ground remains cooler while the air above warms up. This traps the cooler air below the warmer air and prevents the clouds from rising further. As more water vapor evaporates, it forms more clouds that cannot rise, and they accumulate over the lake, creating a spectacular sea of clouds.
Another fantastic spot to witness a sea of clouds is Hehuanshan. Renowned as the Cloud Sea Highway, Provincial Highway 14A, leading to Hehuanshan, offers views that attract countless visitors. While celebrated for its winter sea of clouds, Hehuanshan is equally famous for its snowy landscapes. With a high elevation ranging from 2,900 to 3,421 meters, it snows frequently on Hehuanshan during the winter months. Lucky visitors may experience the thrill of snowfall as early as late December. Its accessibility by car makes it a popular destination for enjoying snow scenes without extensive hiking.
Nantou's winter is a symphony of contrasts, offering both relaxing and adventurous activities. With its diverse landscape, Nantou invites you to uncover its hidden gems as winter paints the scene with its magic. Now, there are a lot of special things about this article. One thing is that when you read the first paragraph, you may end up tuning out a bit because it is very technical.
Yeah, it's weather, the water cycle. This is 4th grade science class. This is when students learn about the water cycle of where water hits the ocean, it evaporates, condenses in the clouds. This is honestly a really interesting article if you care about the weather and the way weather affects the real world.
So we're going to take it sentence by sentence and sort it all out, because if you just read it in one go, it's probably a little hard to follow. But if you take it sentence by sentence, you should be able to get it step by step. Our first sentence, Sun Moon Lake presents more than just a peaceful bike ride. Okay, that's just getting us ready for what's coming, and that's pretty easy, no problem. So a nice bike ride isn't the only thing there. That's really interesting. In the early morning, under the right weather conditions, a sea of clouds often forms over the lake. So far, so good. So if you look at the lake, it looks like you've got clouds right over the lake rather than up in the sky. It's right in front of your eyes. This phenomenon typically occurs when a cold air mass moves southward and brings lower temperatures. Starting from this sentence, you're going to have to pay extra attention.
Okay, so a phenomenon, as I pronounce it, just means a situation, and a cold air mass just means a volume of cold air relative to the temperature around you. As you may know, lake water tends to hold heat longer than the air, and so you have cold air meeting warm water, and that creates weather.
Okay, so now you've got this big bunch of air, an air mass, going towards the south, and it's going to make everything around it colder. It's bringing lower temperatures. The cooler conditions make it easier for clouds to form at lower altitudes. Now, if we've gone slow enough, then we get why this happens. So this big mass of cold air has come in, and that has created a special environment here over the lake. That means that it's going to be easier for clouds to form right over the water of the lake rather than being up in the sky.
That's right. So you have that warm water and the cold air meet. And so because of like osmosis, everything wanting to balance, the warm air comes out and it hits that cold air and it instantly turns into clouds.
Water vapor from the ground evaporates and rises along the slopes with the airflow, condensing into clouds upon encountering cooler air. That's what Chris just explained.
Okay, so water vapor is water gas. So vapor has that long A sound, vapor. But then we have the verb evaporate. And you can see vapor inside of this word. So evaporate. When something evaporates, it's the liquid form turning into gas.
Okay, and so it is rising along with the airflow. And as it rises, it condenses into clouds. That means it turns into water upon encountering cooler air. One interesting thing about clouds is we think they're very fluffy and light. Because clouds are made of water, they are very heavy.
They're very heavy.
A lot of people don't know that.
That's right. And in fact, if you're in a lot of fog, you may actually find yourself kind of damp. Condensing is just gas into liquid. Condense is the opposite of evaporate. We know C-O-N is Latin for coming together, and we know dense means everything is together. So we have two different ways of saying, hey, all this water vapor is now forming into liquid near itself.
Because water that is warm and holds a lot of water, when it becomes cold, warm air can hold more water than cold air. So when it becomes cold, it's going to have to let this water that it was holding turn back into real water droplets. Additionally, in the early morning hours, the air near the ground remains cooler while the air above warms up. So you've got this mass of air close to the ground that is really a cloud now, and it's quite cool. The air above these clouds warms up, though.
And this makes sense because it takes more energy to heat up water than it does to heat up just regular air. This is why running a dehumidifier in your house in winter while running a space heater is more effective than just running the space heater by itself. You take out that water and it becomes easier to heat the air. But with these clouds hanging around, the ground level will be cooler than the air above it.
This traps the cooler air below the warmer air and prevents the clouds from rising further. So you've got all this warm air above the clouds, which are cool. It's very hard for the clouds to go up because that warm air is kind of holding them back. As more water vapor evaporates, it forms more clouds that cannot rise, and they accumulate over the lake, creating a spectacular sea of clouds. So more water is turning, or more air is giving up its water and turning into water vapor, making clouds, and they really can't go up because there's warm air above that's holding them down. And so we've got more and more clouds that are accumulating, gathering over the lake, and it's a very beautiful sight.
So AC or ACC is Latin meaning to add or to go more, to speed up. We know the verb to accelerate, and that means to speed up. And cum, C-U-M-U-L, is actually Latin just for a heap. You already know this if you know the names of different kinds of clouds. Those big, fluffy clouds in the skies are called cumulus clouds. And what do they look like? A big lump of mashed potatoes or whatever. So they accumulate, they create big heaps, and we're adding more and more with that AC in front.
Okay, so I have to make a confession.
Okay.
I didn't really understand this paragraph when I read it to myself to prepare for the broadcast. I didn't really understand it when I read it aloud the first time. I didn't really understand it thoroughly until I explained it myself just now. So what does that tell you? A lot of times when you run into a dense passage in reading, you're going to have to read it 3 times before you get it.
That's right, talking it out, kind of thinking about it. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a weatherman. So I know Karen prefaced this by saying it was a little hard. I was all sorts of excited about reading this.
That's great. It's your thing.
Yeah, I have tutored third, fourth, and fifth grade science for many years. So for me, I was like, oh, this is secondhand at this point. Oh, it's okay. Liquid to gas, gas to liquid. This is old hat for me.
Well done. Okay, next paragraph.
All right. Another fantastic spot to witness a sea of clouds is Hehuanshan.
All right, so that's the most famous one where you go see, oh, actually, Alishan, you can also see a sea of clouds.
Yeah.
But another really famous place to go see them is Hehuanshan.
Renowned as the Cloud Sea Highway, Provincial Highway 14A, leading to Hehuanshan, offers views that attract countless visitors. Now, stop me if I'm wrong, Karen, but doesn't Provincial Highway 14A just have a certain je ne sais quoi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because it's so concrete, especially with that A after it. That means, oh, I wonder what Highway 14 is like. They've got a 14A. That might be the scenic drive.
Boy, they really squeezed the life out of that name, though, didn't they?
They
Cloud
did.
Sea Highway is just, I want to go there, but Provincial Highway 14A sounds like, I don't know, drive through here as fast as I can.
Oh, I see. Actually, we have opposite views. Because when I saw that 14A, I thought it's so specific. With that A on it, that means it's probably a smaller route. It's probably more scenic. So I had a different reaction from you.
Interesting. That's interesting. I was making a light joke by saying Provincial Highway 14A, as in no wonder people have given it a second name because it's so dry and so technical to me that it's like it doesn't mean anything. But the Cloud Sea Highway, man, I am booking my destination tonight for that.
Okay, I guess as a driver,
Sure.
I've driven around a lot of places in Taiwan. Whenever I see a provincial highway, I know that we're going to be moving slower. We're going to have stoplights, and it's probably going to be a prettier drive than just driving on the freeway, which you take when you're in a hurry.
So a province, or provincial as the adjective, really just usually means the areas outside of the capital city or big city. Today it just feels like the countryside, but especially jumping back into history, especially like pre-car era, provincial really felt like bumpkins and hillbillies and somewhat derogatory. Today it just feels like countryside.
That's right, because we divide our highways up into different classes, different levels. So it could be a national highway or a federal highway or something like that. A provincial one is going to be smaller. It is actually usually managed by the province by a lower level of government. So it's usually not as big and fancy and fast.
All right, let's go on to our next sentence here. While celebrated for its winter sea of clouds, Hehuanshan is equally famous for its snowy landscapes.
Now, what that calls to mind for me is my early years in Taiwan when most people had never ever seen snow.
Right.
And they really wanted to see snow. Occasionally it falls in Yangmingshan in some places, even where I live. But I think, why do you want to see snow? Considering where both of us are from, we've seen enough snow for a lifetime. We've seen a lot of snow in our life. And we know the inconvenience, the danger. There's a lot of problems associated with snow. We have school closings. We have difficulties driving. They have to clean the streets. They'll scatter salt, which is really bad for your cars. There's a lot of negative things associated with snow. And you think, well, if you haven't seen it, I guess it excites you. And so whenever people heard about Hehuanshan snowing, a lot of people would drive there immediately. They just had to see snow.
Oh, yes. My wife was always excited. Before we moved to the United States, she knew she was going to see heavy snow, and she was very excited for it. And I told her it gets old pretty fast.
Very fast.
But I will say for a couple years, she was excited to go wake up early and start the car and scrape. Like she wanted to do that. It was very exciting for her to do that. We come from places that don't just get snow. We get mountains of snow. We get heaps of snow, avalanches of snow. And like going to work after a big heavy snowfall means you're waking up 20 minutes early to get your car ready, to make sure that it's warm and there's no ice or snow on your car. And she was very excited for it. But yeah, I agree. After how many ever years of our snow,
Had enough.
All right. I'm all right, man.
Yeah. So on the one hand, I do have some happy childhood memories of the Christmas season in winter and looking out the windows and the windows frosting up and putting up Christmas. I mean, all of that goes together. But my father slipped and fell on ice and broke his leg.
Wow.
And that ended up very, very, very bad for my father. Went into a depression. No good. So I have very mixed feelings about it.
Actually, you saying that, my father had a big fall on ice too, and that's a memory that's extremely distinct in my mind. There we go. So here are two different people from two different places,
snowy places,
that have very distinct memories of our fathers slipping on ice and smashing their backs or smashing their legs. It was a very distinct memory. He lost his breath. It was very scary for me too. But that's funny.
Yeah. It was I think probably the lowest point in my father's life because he's so used to being independent and he was suddenly in a wheelchair.
Wow. Was he older at this point?
Yeah, 40s. 40s to 50s.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh,
beware, snow is beautiful, but it can be really dangerous if you're not careful.
On the other hand, I had a lot of fun building snow forts with my friends, and we had snowball fights, and it's sort of like building a clubhouse when you build a snow fort. You can do all kinds of things because you can form snow into all kinds of things. You got a real mixed bag with snow.
We used to live at a dead end, and so the city would plow the snow into our neighborhood. Mountains of snow. Pre-made snow forts. That was always fun. All right, we're really off topic here.
Oh, well, yeah, but just realize that snow is not unmitigated good stuff. Okay? All right, continue.
All right, let's go on to our next sentence here.
Once you find it.
With a high elevation ranging from 2,900 to 3,421 meters, it snows frequently on Hehuanshan during the winter months.
We've already established that. And 2,900 to 3,400 meters, that's a pretty tall mountain.
Just to emphasize this, after during, we're not using a subject, we're not using a verb or a helping verb here. It's just you jump right to the object, you add the activity that we're talking about during the winter months.
It's a preposition.
It's a very big mistake my students love to mess with.
Yeah, it's a preposition that means a noun comes after it.
Lucky visitors may experience the thrill of snowfall as early as late December, which is right now.
That's right. Okay, we're getting to the end of December. Yeah.
When did snow start in Minnesota, generally speaking?
Oh, man, it really depends because now with global warming, the winters have been milder, less snow, which is a shock if you're from Minnesota. But when I was younger, I mean, you could have it as early as late September, early October.
Yeah, we might get some in October. I want to say the average first snow in Buffalo was in November around Thanksgiving, so the end of November. But Christmas was always snowy, and this year it's like
no
the
snow.
Lakes don't even freeze anymore. The lake's not even frozen. It's bizarre.
It's unimaginable for a Minnesotan.
Its accessibility by car makes it a popular destination for enjoying snow scenes without extensive hiking.
Bring your tire chains.
Yeah. Sandbag over the back axle.
Yeah.
Put a couple blankets in your car, too. If you're going to drive to a really high elevation and you're going to go see snow, you're going to be inexperienced driving in this.
Yeah, and that's
dangerous.
Something
happens, you need to be prepared for exceptionally cold weather. This is something that I think that most people don't even think of if they're from a warm area.
Yeah.
The back of your car becomes your survival mechanism, that you might not survive a winter's night if you're not prepared, if you're stuck in the cold.
I will tell a quick story of something that happened to me when we were driving in upstate New York.
Okay.
So here we are, and it's snowing, and my kid's dad is driving, and he has to stop, and he skids. Now, as a macho male, he would rather drive than have a female drive.
Okay.
I said, pull over, get out. I am driving.
Right.
Because I know how to drive in winter weather.
There's a specific skill to it.
You have to pump the brake or tap the brake lightly to stop, or you will spin and skid.
Yeah, you hitting your brake once will put the back of your tires in the front of you, and you're out of control. Knowing how to drive in the snow is a specific skill.
And the person behind you might hit you.
That's right.
So this was one time when he yielded to a female. He realized, I'm
out of my depths here.
I'm out of my depth.
Yeah. So I bet it was a real transition when you got behind the wheel, the way you were driving, the style you were driving.
And it was a real transition for him to admit that a woman had to take over.
It's very big of him because I imagine it must be very difficult for him to do that. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but know when your family's in danger. Let go of your ego.
He did.
All right.
That one time. Okay, last paragraph. Nantou's winter is a symphony of contrasts, offering both relaxing and adventurous activities. And we've given you examples of both. With its diverse landscape, Nantou invites you to uncover its hidden gems as winter paints the scene with its magic. Now, this sounds like advertising copy for a tourism bureau.
Yeah, okay. The symphony of contrast. I agree. I could see that in a pamphlet. Your symphony is, you know what a symphony is? It's a bunch of classical musicians playing together. It's made of two Greek words, sim, meaning together, and phony, that P-H-O-N, like your iPhone, means sound. So you have all these sounds together, and a contrast is just the opposite. And so you have all of these different things playing together, like relaxing and adventurous activities.
Now, although it sounds a bit like advertising copy, I have to say it's quite effective because it has given me the urge to go visit there again.
Yeah, I agree. Very colorful language. I think yesterday the description of the trees and now the snow with the sea of clouds, it makes me excited to go get into nature during these cold months.
You know, actually, we now have a few questions for you. We have a two-part question. Number 1.
Fill in the blanks of the following sentence using 2 words from the Day 1 passage. Make any necessary changes to the word form to ensure the sentence is complete, grammatically correct, and consistent with the meaning of the passage. Only 1 word is required per blank.
So we have a little table here at the top. It says the Fuxing Hot Spring area, and it's divided into two rows. The first one is hot springs. The second is development. And next to hot springs, it says the spring water can blank the skin, thus gaining the nickname of beauty bath. And what goes in that blank?
We can use the verb soften.
So the whole sentence now reads,
the spring water can soften the skin, thus gaining the nickname of beauty bath.
And the second row, development, is the government developed the area after the blank of Lushan Hot Spring area into a dangerous region. That sentence is really hard to read with that blank in there. We need to put that word in there immediately.
So reclassification is the word. Remember, they changed it from scenic spot to hazardous zone. So we have to reclassify. So the government developed the area after the reclassification of Lushan Hot Spring area into a dangerous region,
which we expressed as hazardous zone in the original text. Okay, number 3.
Harold recently visited Nantou. Based on the information contained in the 2-day passage, which attraction is he likely referring to?
And our passage here is, my recent trip to Nantou was an unforgettable adventure, especially the hiking expedition. The changing leaf colors and the diverse wildlife encounters along the trail made it particularly memorable. What area are they talking about?
He's talking about the Awanda National Forest Recreation Area.
Or just Awanda. Okay, and number 3, from A to F below. Choose the ones that are true about how the Sea of Clouds forms at Sun Moon Lake. And we're just going to give you the correct answers. The first correct answer is
letter C. It is linked to southward moving cold air masses.
And the second correct answer is F. Ground level air is colder than upper air in the early morning. That's it for today. Tune in next time. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.